This is first in a series demonstrating warping a rigid Heddle loom that is not direct warping. Prior to setting up the loom, you can see there's a warp that is already attached. This is a 4-yard warp. Some people have asked if and how they can do 9 yards. When I did some research, I found out that most of the rigid Heddle looms were meant to do warps that are perhaps 5 or 6 yards at the most. I decided to put on a 4-yard warp. I'm going to get a little bit closer so you can see. One of the things I decided to do, I'm trying something a little different. I'm using my warping helpers that I have demonstrations for. So if you go a little closer, you can see that I have the warping sticks are already. Let me bring it back a little bit. Let me come a little bit farther here, or come into the picture and show you what I'm talking about. Now these are, the warping helpers are some straps that I've used on floor looms. So I thought, well, I'd like to be able to use something to hold the cross in place. So I have the lease sticks in between the cross. I have not released it yet, or have not untied it yet. And I have the rigid Heddle. This is going to be 8 dents per inch because it's heavy yarn for some placemats. I have the reed in place. I have not cut this yet, but that's one thing I'm going to be doing, and let's do that right now. Well, let's take it apart. And I've cut a few of the threads were already singles. So this time I have to cut it because I'm going to be warping it. I'm going to be threading the Heddle, I should say. So this is ready to do, and I still haven't taken this out yet. I'm going to do that momentarily. I just want to show you what's going on here. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the tie that was in the cross off, and that's so I can spread this out a little bit. And the plan is I'll be able to, as I'm threading, I'll be able to peel off each one of these. I'll be taking it out, I'll be just moving it over, placing it into the Heddle, then either into a slot or into the hole. So I'm going to set that up next. So we'll pause for a moment. All right, the loom is set up. What I did was I did spread these out a little bit so they're easier to see. You want to make sure that you're sitting in a place that you can see over, and you can also see the Heddles. This one happens to be an 8 dent reed, and I'm weaving something that's 14 inches wide, so I'm going to come in about 1 inch. This particular company, Kromsky, has a nice tool. So if you are going through the hole here, you can put your thread in the loop. You can see it's a kind of a wire loop. You can also use the hook if you want to pull your thread through. When I'm weaving or warping a floor loom, I don't necessarily use those, but with this rigid Heddle loom, it comes in quite handy. Now I'm looking over here and I see my first thread. I'm going to take it, and like I said, I'm going to go in about 1 inch. I'm going to use the hook and pull that one through. Come back over here, pull the next thread out, and in this case I'm going to use the little, well, let's see if the hook fits through. This might work on this loom. Yep, because this is an 8 dent per inch. I can probably keep using the hook here. If this was finer thread, I'd be using this end. So I am going to thread every other, the slot, and then the hole. And I'm going to continue doing that across, slot, and the hole. And then every so often, let me do one, I like to do a pair at a time. Slot, and then a hole. So I'm going to pause for a moment, make sure I didn't make any threading errors. It's good to take a look at that. Put my finger through, it looks pretty good. The other thing I like to do is do a little overhand knot here, because I don't want all of that to fall through all that I've done. So my plan now is I'm going to continue across, threading all of this, And then we're going to move on to tying it on and winding it on the back part of the loom. If you do not have a device like this to hold it, you can use a string or other kinds of devices to hold your warp in place. Whatever works for you. Like I said, I'm trying out my warping helpers, seeing if they happen to do what I'm hoping they're going to do for this project.